the distance between you and yourself will get smaller by sadhana, even though there is no distance. It may be a contradiction, but it's no contradiction. Somehow we have to have this aspiration to find what we truly are. Don't take your role which you are playing on this stage too seriously. I mean, take it seriously, play to the best of your ability, but in the sense, always try to remember who you really are. There are so many ways to connect. You can connect via bhakti or dhyana, reflecting, or karma, or even yoga and pranayama are helpful. And I feel also just ask for it. Ask that you get help, that you want to know the truth, and you need help for it. Namaste to all of you. Actually, namaste to the Atma in each one of you. So it is about my book, and the title is Thank You India. Very easy, because I am grateful that I can live in this beautiful country, and that I was allowed to see beneath the surface and discovered this profound wisdom which is here. So I put up first, because I have to be very careful not to get lost, because there's too much in the book. So I just can take out a few things. So I put up the table of contact. For the first 7 years, I was constantly on the move. I had no fixed place anywhere. I did not leave a bag anywhere. I was having just for one bag, and after 2 years I had 2 bags, because I had a typewriter also. I had started to write. And so the first 20 chapters, basically, I met so many gurus. I went around India a lot and reflected also, and my outlook changed. Then the next, up to 20 chapter, it is my first 7 years where it started. And then the next chapters are my time with gurus. I stayed with 2 gurus successively, first with a very famous one, Sai Baba, and then with a very unknown one, a coffee planter in Coorg, life in Kodagu. Then Daswanita Guru. I met also Amritananda Mai, and I did the basic course of Ravi Shankar. I went to Gangotri. And then I moved into a normal surrounding, away from ashrams. Till then I was very sheltered. I did not have a newspaper, I did not have a TV, I knew nothing about India except very vaguely. Yes, there were some Mughals earlier here, and yes, the British, they brought the railways to India. I mean, very little I knew. Like most Westerners, especially the young ones who come, they know nothing, because we don't hear anything there. No? So you have to make some allowance for them, that they may be a little stupid also in reacting. So when I settled in Dehradun, I realized there was a very different India, or a very different type of Indians, which are called usually the seculars. I got into their kind of circle and discovered something very discomforting. And that's when I got really also frightened about whether this beautiful, profound wisdom which is here really will survive, because it's so much under attack. So I came on a stopover only on the persuasion of a photographer friend who had an assignment for wildlife sanctuaries. I did not come for spirituality, because India, I didn't, Buddhism, yeah, I read on Buddhism, but India was not on the radar, except for some gurus which were a bit strange maybe, but like Osho and Hare Krishna sect, and they were made to look very bad in Germany, the press. So after the wildlife sanctuaries, we went to Kanyakumari, and there there's a memorial for Swami Vivekananda. Without knowing who is Swami Vivekananda, I bought 2 books actually, but the one which impressed me very much was Dhyana Yoga. And it was it sorted out the philosophy for me. I always was asking what is important in life. I had since long this question. I wanted to know what is really the meaning of life. When at the end there's death, what is the point even of making any effort? So this question was there. And when I read Swami Vivekananda, it made immediately sense, we are actually one with everybody. And this is more like a dream or like a virtual reality. We are like actors on the stage, and we should find out who we really are. So this made immediately sense, but I don't think I would have stayed on in India just because of the book. I might have moved. But this friend went back to Germany, and I definitely wanted to see the Himalaya. So when I went first, of course, to Hardwar, there the Kumbh Mela happened. And I did not know what Kumbh Mela is. And I was very fortunate to get a place even, because you can imagine the crowds. And I landed up in the best place actually, in the tourist bungalow right by the Ganga. But I had the injunction that I move on the roof. I sleep on the roof on the main, because it was fully booked on certain days. So this was okay. Several people slept on the roof. So then there I met some foreigners, and they took me to the guru. And their guru was Anandamayi Ma. She was very well known at the time. I did not know, of course. But when I first saw her, she was sitting on a chair and some group was standing around her. And she didn't talk, but she just looked. And when her eyes met my eyes, I just cried. I mean, really, tears just, without being happy and sad, I could not explain it. I felt actually very embarrassed. But I had this very strange feeling that there's nobody there behind those eyes. I mean, later I felt maybe this feeling was actually right, because there's no ego in her, no personality in her. So I went every evening for her darshan, and I got help also from two older foreign women at the time. They stayed already a long time in the ashram. One was a German, and one was an Austrian Jewish who came for Krishnamurti and switched over to Anandamayi Ma in 1945 already. So then they explained, I was asking, what does it mean to be enlightened? It means that God shines through her fully. Yeah, but what does it really mean? What is God? I mean, in Hamburg University, my God didn't figure in my vocabulary. It was, I mean, you would have been ridiculed if you would talk about God. And even in Germany, it always I felt very uncomfortable when even my mother, anybody, would talk about God, because it felt so hypocritical somehow. And in India, suddenly it was so normal. Everybody talked about God or Bhagwan or Hari or whatever name you give. So then I tried to find out what is meant by God. Now, in Ma's surrounding, Atmananda told me many stories. And there were also small booklets with her sayings. So this is Anandamayi Ma. And she was basically telling you have to do sadhana. The distance between you and yourself will get smaller by sadhana, even though there is no distance. It may be a contradiction, but it's no contradiction. Somehow we have to have this aspiration to find what we truly are. If we are not what we are, then of course we should find out what we are. No? I mean, I really took it serious in this way. So she said, there are no others. All is one. And she even said, I make only for convention's sake a difference between you and me. There are no others, and I don't see any others. And then she was very, very clear about life is meant to realize the truth. It has to be first priority. I mean, it may sound difficult. It may sound difficult in a normal daily job and whatever. But if you think about it, maybe one should at least dedicate some time for trying to find out who one really is. And then of course, she came purely from Advaita. She was saying all is one, and at the same time, she stressed very strongly bhakti. He said, without loving God, you cannot get anywhere. Now, this was also difficult for me. How can I love something which is not visible? But it made also sense if in everybody is the same Atma, and in Germany we think that falling in love is the ultimate happiness and the only purpose in life, or how to say, the highest goal in life. You are jealous if somebody is in love, and something like this. So it made sense. If in everyone is the same Atman, then how can I try to single out one person? So I thought a lot about it, about God and about love. And she said, make Bhagwan your closest friend. So I was serious and I asked him, you have to help me. I can't see you. So my diary became a conversation with him. And it was not always easy because also around Ma there were very cultured Indians, very nicely dressed with a lot of jewelry. And we foreigners were a little out of tune. And if she would give a lot of attention to the Indians, often even the Rani of Tehri was there and like high class people. So she ignored me long enough, and I was really fighting with God and say, I know you love them, but do you love me also? No? So there was, it was a struggle, but I feel when the aspiration is pure, I feel also honesty needs to be there, then things will happen. And then the one sentence of Ma helped me a lot. It was, she was asked, is it okay for girls to work? Nowadays, women also work. Is it okay? It was long ago. No? And she didn't really answer, but she said, people don't understand. If they focus on God, on Bhagwan, and they give freely from what they have, be it knowledge, be it money, then they are taken care of. You don't have to worry. So I took it very seriously, and I didn't plan for my future. My parents were not so happy. In fact, when I had once an accident, a quite serious one, I lost my memory for a time, and then they put life insurance for me. So then I roamed across India, met many sadhus, sannyasis and gurus, and at the same time when Ma was in Hardwar, Devaraha Baba was also there. And the strange thing, he was ancient, and he was really ancient, and on the internet it says that there's one Lucknow lawyer who says he was there for his family was devotees of him for 7 generations. Even Rajendra Prasad, first president of India, he was saying 3 generations or something. I met an old man, he gave me once a lift, and he said, when I was a small boy, my grandfather told me when he was a small boy, Devaraha Baba was already an old man. So, and I really liked him, and he actually gave me his blessing when I told I want to stay longer. After staying for 2-3 weeks around Ma, I knew already I don't want to move on to Australia now. I never knew how long I want to stay. I just felt I haven't finished in India. So then I liked him a lot. I don't know. I really felt like my heart was jumping with joy when I thought I would see him again, which was very odd. No? So then he is very beautiful. I think he drew many people, many foreigners also. Herakam Baba, who was said to be Babaji of Yogananda's autobiography. But I couldn't get clear, I could not decide, is he not, and I don't know, I still don't know. He died quite young. In fact, Pilot Baba was thinking that he was poisoned, so I don't know. I went to Ramana Maharishi's ashram, where I always liked his books. This Austrian woman, she knew. We talked a lot. I typed for her also after some while, and she knew to every issue a quote from Ramana Maharishi, Ramakrishna, Vivekananda. She knew so much. No? So I discovered quite soon Ramana Maharishi's conversation which were very helpful to pull you back. It has always you have to turn back into your side. If you are always outside, you kind of dissipate yourself and you miss out something actually. In fact, Ananda Mema once said, people say these sannyasis, they are so pitiable more or less because they miss out on the joys of the world. So, and she said, these people don't know what they miss out. This inner joy is much, much greater. So she motivated really. Some friends from Germany came who had a Tibet aid and they invited me to join them. And we had a nice talk, 1 hour. Dalai Lama was saying, like family, isn't it? So, and then even he said, when he realized I'm more a Hindu, not a Buddhist, so he said, do you think that the concept of Atma in Hinduism makes a difference to Buddhism? And I immediately said, no, Atman is Brahman. There's no separate Atman. It's one with all. Upanishads say, I am Atma Brahman. All is. So this is some photo from early. This photographer friend took, I don't know, sorry who this boy is. He sent me in the cows. Actually, on the real photos, there are many more cows visible. And I like the photos for the cow. And you can see what difference 40 years make in the face. But also I feel inwardly, I was very shy and inhibited at that time. So inwardly, somehow I improved a little, but outwardly, maybe not much. So this was also when Ananda Mema moved to Dehradun. Some Italians went with her, and they also asked me to join them. And we stayed in a little simple place. And a few years ago, one of those Italians discovered me on the internet, and he contacted me and he sent this photo. So, because I didn't have photos from that time. So now, after moving for a long time through India, I didn't want a guru because I thought I have to do what he says. No? So then, but I was not sure. And when I was in Tiruvannamalai once, I met Ram Suraj Kumar, and I asked him, does one need a guru? And he said, does one need a guru? What a philosophical question. Ask a philosopher such a question. Very annoyed he looked. So I said, okay, do I need a guru? Then he looked a long time above my head and then he said, go to Sai Baba. Then I said, but I don't want a guru. And then he laughed and said, if you don't want a guru, then don't take a guru. Why should you take a guru? But it will be good if you go to Sai Baba. So I went to Sai Baba and I stayed for a full 7 years there. It so happened, I mean, somebody asked me if I would take a room for 1 year because she has done it up very nicely. So I was a little tired from the road, 7 years on the move. So it was tempting and I agreed. And then I was stuck for 1 year, and after 1 year it was easy to stay on because and it was a beautiful place. I mean, the whole world was there, from Chile, from Greenland, from Fiji, from everywhere. All the top president, prime minister, chief justice, everybody was there. Rich business people from Hong Kong, scientists from. I mean, you thought he's a publicly certified saint. I felt. And I convinced myself that he is what he claims to be, because I felt he cannot possibly tell a lie. I mean, I am from nature, I think I'm very honest, and I felt he cannot tell a lie. Why would he tell a lie? So that once I was sure that since he can't tell a lie, it must be true. So when it's true, then I have to stay also there. I was never happy there really. But I thought my life is not meant to be happy really. If I want to see the truth, if it helps me to see the truth, to be here. So then I stay. But then my faith just slipped away. And it slipped a little bit gradually, but I still held on. You say, I cannot judge. That is a usual thing. What do we know? An enlightened being, he can behave in any way he does. But then one incident happened, a very banal incident, a very nothing special, and suddenly my whole face had slipped away, and I felt strangely relieved. I didn't feel betrayed or anything, and I still can't judge Sai Baba. He does a lot of good. He motivated many people to do charity. He helped, but for me it was time to leave. And when I finally left, it was a little difficult because my whole life collapsed. No? So I reached Bangalore, and then my face. And the same day, it was Diwali day, in Bangalore evening, there was a notice board in the hotel that Karunamai is in town. So I went to see her, and she was very helpful, sort of. When she did not know I'm writing, but she gave me time to meet her alone. And when I came into this empty room, she was standing there with a fountain pen. And she gave it to me and said, "You are a daughter of Saraswati, write about the divine." So, I mean, this was a help. And when I left, she was saying, "Consider my ashram as your home." So it felt so good. I knew I wouldn't go to another ashram. I never went to another ashram. Even so, I got attached to another guru somehow in the meditation group. But it helped me to get over this loss somehow. And so that was, and she put me very much on meditation. She said, Bhagwan is invisible. That means he is visible in you. So try to find him. And it's real. I mean, we think those people who take the act. Ma also said, and Ramana Maharishi also said, don't take your role which you are playing on this stage too seriously. I mean, take it seriously. Play to the best of your ability, but in the sense, always try to remember who you really are. I mean, an actor on the stage, he will not forget that in real life he's something else. So this should be our guiding line also for our life. Just to, I mean, it's not easy because it has to be granted that you remember. I mean, one other thing is like tu chapa. Ma was once saying there was a man who kept moving his mouth always. So she was asking him, "What do you have in your mouth all the time?" So he said, "But Ma, you told me that I should have always something sweet on my tongue. I have a toffee, no?" So she was laughing and said, "With something sweet, I meant Hari ka naam. There's nothing sweeter than his name." So little things like this helped me. Also, her attitude towards death was very, it was for her very clear that it's just changing a dress. And when her mother had died, she was lying in state, and Ma used to laugh very loudly, and she recommended also to laugh very loudly. She said, "You have to shake with laughter and don't just move your mouth." And so she said, when her Ma was lying, she was laughing, and somebody told her, "Ma, look, your mother is lying here. No? It's not appropriate, really, that you behave like this." And she said, "What? Nothing has happened." I mean, it was for her so clear and so that really nothing has happened. So I did a lot of meditation at that time again, which I had neglected in Sai Baba's ashram, because the main focus was on darshan. Now, does one need a guru? Ramana Maharishi was once asked, and he said yes, and he said even, "I admit a guru for myself too." And then everybody was surprised and said, "But you don't have a guru. Who is your guru?" Then he said, "Atma." And I came to the conclusion, one does not have to search for a guru. If you really have interest to know yourself, and if you keep asking it, because it's conscious, it is actually the only thing which is conscious in us. So if we take it real, this is a thing. I think when I said 30 years ago, God is very close to me, and when you I mean, it's a gradual process that you kind of maybe come a little closer, or you feel it closer. And ultimately, I had also very beautiful experiences in the sense that you really can feel what they say is that nothing in this world can compare with it. Such a subtle kind of blissful feeling, or I don't know. It's a very subtle shift. It's not in my hand. I cannot do it. But even the remembrance is beautiful, and then compared, this world of thought is quite boring. So sometimes I feel we should really stop thinking and just be aware what actually is true now. Just watch and feel, or do japa. Or so does one need a guru? Maybe not. Nowadays, even there are videos. The knowledge is available, and but since I was in South India at that time, I went to Amma, and I felt through her something come through. I felt she's genuine, and her first hug, not the second hug, her first hug made this beautiful feeling also. That I missed lunch for it. when I did the basic course with Ravi Shankar, this intense breathing I found was very helpful. And Swami Ramdev I met only in 2011. And then I moved to Dehradun. Dehradun was always a place which I really liked. When Ananda, my mom, moved there, and I felt I really liked the place, outskirts of Dehradun. But when I reached there, I had to start again life completely new. And on top of it, the magazine for which I mainly wrote had become insolvent. So I was like of rudderless. I was lost somehow. So I went to Gangotri, and in Gangotri there was nothing else to do than to do meditation and you are in this environment automatically. I stayed for 3 months. I got to know the scene quite well, also that there's even jealousy among the big gurus, and it's even if you have renounced the world is still there. I remember one discussion between some sadhus, they lacked 300 rupee because they have to pay the shopkeeper also if they take provision, and it was so difficult for them to get those 300 rupee. So, but I call him in my book VIP Guru, because I had talks with him every afternoon. He was an engineer in his earlier life, and it was everybody who tries to help you tries to pull you back into yourself. And maybe this was also what I missed in Puttaparthi, that there was the focus on future. There was always a waiting on the future somehow. That now he was even saying in 1995, 200 heads of state will come and they will recognize that the avatars on earth and things like this. It was a little not really in tune with what I understand by a spiritual life. So when I came back from Gangotri, and I settled in Dehradun, then I connected with people. They were very kind. They invited me home. They called me for even parties. And I did not know such people existed at that time. And but I discovered it, I think maybe first time, when there was a debate on Ayodhya, and I suggested it would be nice if the Muslims would hand over the place to Hindus, because for Hindus it's important. Ram was born there. For Muslims it's not important. And on top of it, there was a temple, a mandir, on which was destroyed and the mosque was built. And when I said this, those friends of mine, they were so upset. I knew it was completely unacceptable for them. That may have been maybe in 2005 or so. I think it was just when there was this news that there was actually a temple beneath, when it came out. So they were so upset, and I did not understand. And I discovered also that they were very, very negative about anything Hindu. Hindu was almost a bad word. And my neighbor, even he called me then RSS Pracharak, and and I stood up for Hindu Dharma. As I would have much more preferred if I had said I am a Buddhist. Buddhist is okay. I don't know why. It is very strange, but Hindu, this word. So I discovered slowly why they are like this. They didn't know, they had not even read the Bhagavad Gita, but they were very sure that they have distanced themselves from their heritage and from their knowledge tradition. And it was very painful for me. And even with some, when I debated, it was okay. I remember one very secular couple, the wife was okay, but she even told me, Maria, don't talk about these things, you will lose your friends. So I said, it doesn't matter, no? I mean, because in fact, for some time I was very much alone because I had to cut this up. Anyway, I don't like to go to parties. I am not a party person. But then I couldn't, it was all fine. They are nice people, very nice, very hospitable. But this issue was just a jarring point, and that they made so much fun of it. It was painful for me. So I had to more or less leave. And once I even asked an astrologer, is it bad for me that I withdraw so much? No, it was at that time I didn't have a blog yet. Also, I was quite alone. And then he said, no, it's okay, don't worry. And then I discovered why they were so disconnected, because this English medium education. I mean, it is such a blunder, and I just can't understand how India can continue with. I mean, I am in a village, no? I talked to the wife of the watchman of my landlord. They all put their kids in English medium. Nobody speaks English. And even in 7th class, the language is so difficult. Even I have to read it twice to understand what is meant. And he cannot understand. And why should a 9-year-old, 15-year-old know a linked language? You don't need a linked language at this time. Parents are there still, no? You don't have to throw children into English medium and tell them that only makes them a level playing field with big people. Of course it doesn't matter, because these other people, when their child is 2 years, they coax it. What is this? No, this is a window, this is... And my little boy, I pushed, unfortunately, into English because I felt so bad, because his mother just... It was peer pressure also, no? And when I said, what is this? Kirki, kursi, maze, immediately, no? But the English just didn't get in. It was, I feel English medium should be phased out, and including in higher education, because so many also fall on the wayside. Even Srinivas Ramanujan would have fallen by the wayside, no? If not somebody had discovered his notebook. So then he didn't manage this transition into college. So because only some 10 or 20 people benefit from this whole thing. Then I got a shock in 2008. I remember before the Mumbai attack, suddenly Hindu terror, never Muslim terror, saffron terror. And I read once, Hemant Kakare was quoted in Times of India, 90% of my research or investigation goes into investigating Hindu terror. I knew it cannot be true, because Hindu Dharma is based on Dharma, and on Dharma does just not allow you to go into a railway station and shoot at random to people, or in a cafe or in a hotel. It may be possible, like when there was this when somebody in Germany tried to kill Hitler. This can be dharmic, no? You feel you have to get rid of somebody to save so many more people. This is allowed in Hindu Dharma, but at random shooting, it can never be true. And of course, there are criminals, Hindu criminals, but a criminal will always have try to have some benefit or some revenge. He has some motive. It's not that he goes out. It is very rarely. And even psychologists, I saw once on Deutsche Welle, on German, there was an attack in Germany had happened, and the anchor tried so hard, a psychologist, to make her say that this was a psychopath. No, I mean, he was not mentally. And the psychologist said, psychopaths usually harm themselves first. So she just wouldn't oblige, but you could feel also that the anchor tried so hard to excuse the perpetrator of this attack. So Hindu terror, luckily, thanks to Tukaram Ombole. I mean, if he had not caught this person alive, I think we would have a big problem now. We would be equated with whatever, and even worse, because we can be attacked, but others cannot be attacked normally. So this would be really a bad situation. But yesterday I discovered it seems the project has not yet been given up. It still may come up. That somebody was saying, like small Hindu groups like Hindu Mahasabha also, they try to, RSS is now too big, somebody said, but these groups they will try to push into, they are terrorists. It cannot be. It just cannot be that Hindus are terrorists for Hinduism's sake. I mean, they can be criminals, of course, but a criminal does not do a terror attack. And this should be very clear to us, because so many Hindus also say there are extremists in all religions. If a Hindu is an extremist, he will be a good person. I mean, if he follows no? And but if a Muslim or Christian becomes an extremist in the sense that he literally follows what his doctrine says, then he will have to make the world free of those others. Christianity has to convert everybody to Christianity, and Islam has to not necessarily maybe convert, but the world should be only for Allah. No? So we should be clear that this is in the text, and it is rape culture unfortunately is stuck much better. In the West it's now terrible. They are really feeling that in India at every corner there's a rapist. It is really painful. I mean, you can bring statistics. Of course, if there is a culture which is least prone for rape, it is Hindu culture. And if there is now more rape in India, it is because so many people have left their culture. Not only those who went out to Islam and Christianity, but also Hindus who are not anymore following. And so that is the reason. It's not because of Hindu culture, but they try to portray it as if this kind of Hindu, like these friends of mine, Hindu is a bad word sort of. It's not, and you should really be aware of it and proud of it. Caste system, I won't go into it now, but then Hindus need to be aware of the goal of Christianity and Islam. And I think you are not aware that the goal is nothing less than to put your tradition also into a museum, like all the other ancient traditions have been put into a museum. Sad to say, but we should be aware. The danger is there. And I feel, I mean, Hindu Dharma is of course superior and needs to spread. But I feel you have to be convinced that it is superior. And I just say one example. I was recently in a car. We went to Rishikesh to Pushpendra Kulshrestha's talk actually once. And there was a very learned gentleman coming with me, and he has so many books, and he had a book on Islam on it. So I read a little bit, and I showed to him and said, this passage, it can be in the Gita, it can be in Christianity, it's fully valid. It says, surrender fully to Allah, trust fully in Him, have full faith in him, he will look after you, and so, no? Same thing is in the Bhagavad Gita or in Bhakti. It's love God. No? Christianity also says trust fully. No? So I said this is just the same, and that's why it is so dangerous to sort this out, so difficult to sort it out, because Christianity and Islam are a mixture of truth, good things, and untruths, which act like a poison actually. And the untruth is, what is the supreme being to whom you should surrender? Surrender, okay, but you are supposed to surrender to Allah. Now, who is Allah? Allah is very kind to those who believe in the Quran, but He is very not kind to those who don't believe. No? So this cannot be, and I feel we should point this out. Christians also. You have to believe in Jesus to be eligible for being saved and being eligible to go to heaven. If you, like Swami Vivekananda, wonderful people, they would not be eligible because they didn't accept Jesus as their savior. So this cannot be true, and I feel this we have to point out. We are not really, we go to interfaith dialogues and say everything is fine and we respect this and we respect this, and we are so happy that you benefit from being a Muslim and you benefit from being Christian, I benefit also from being a Hindu. It's not this. We have to be more honest. We are not honest, and we are not courageous enough maybe also to say it's so simple. I mean, normal people understand that it cannot be, and many people also may have doubts. So many Christians have doubts now. They got out. We don't know how many Muslims have doubts, because for them it's very difficult to stand up. But at least those who stand up, there are many ex-Muslims, we should support them. I said even earlier, in Germany we had a saying that shows that common people were always a bit more intelligent than their priests would think, because there's a saying, when somebody obviously tells a lie, then they say, who believes it goes to heaven? I mean, it's so unlikely that it is true. So that means common people were aware, but they couldn't say anything because there was heresy law also for Christianity. No? So at present we don't have heresy law yet, but we should. It's so simple. I mean, how can the Supreme Being, which is behind this stupendous universe, how can he be biased towards people believing only in one book, Christian or Muslim, two competitors, and which came only some 2000 years longest ago, when mankind is, who knows? I mean, more than 5,000, I'm sure. Even if it comes in 10,000 years, how does it make sense that only these 8,000 years prior to Christ or prior to Muhammad are lost forever in hellfire? So it just doesn't make sense, and we should have the courage to say it also. We never pointed out that it is so unreasonable. Last one is sadhana. I really feel it is very important to do sadhana, and if I could motivate you even a little bit to, there's so many ways to connect. You can connect via bhakti or jnana, reflecting, or karma, or even yoga and pranayama are helpful. And I feel also just ask for it. Ask that you get help, that you want to know the truth, and you need help for it. So this sadhana is, I feel, the most important thing. I mean, anybody, are you doing some meditation usually, or yeah? Mm-hmm. No, I think in India has a great advantage that it's still connected to all this, no? And somehow it's still in your blood, somehow. Yeah, but what Ma said basically, when people think worldly enjoyment as the top, but it's not worldly enjoyment. Even I was in the taxi now, and the taxi driver, he put some devotional music, and he was saying, "भक्त लोग हमेशा खुश रखते हैं." वो जो मॉल जाते हैं, मूवी हॉल जाते हैं, वो कुछ समय से खुश है ना, लेकिन उसके बाद फिर टेंशन आता है ना, फिर ही इज राइट ना. सो but he was from Uttarakhand. Yeah, but pity that so many youngsters go to mall and enjoyment, and I mean they will realize later. I mean, we all were maybe sometimes foolish when we were young, or some learn it earlier, some learn it later, but ultimately we have to come back to ourselves. Maybe I should tell also one thing. There's a chapter on Abdullah in my book, which may look a little odd. Abdullah, he was from Jordan. Yeah, and he had worked in Saudi Arabia. He was the oldest from 10 brothers and sisters, and he read a book by Aurobindo, Basis of Yoga, and he was so much touched by it that he came to India, and I met him. I became quite attached to him. Actually, he was not attached, but he showed how beautiful this feeling of brotherhood can be when it is expanded to everybody. And somehow he gives me hopes that it may be possible for our Indian brothers and sisters who have gone out of Hindu Dharma, even though Swami Vivekananda was quite clear, because they are so much brainwashed. They are getting more brainwashed than when you live in a normal environment where everybody is Christian. Like we Christians are not as brainwashed as the Indian Christians. I really discovered this one. I was in a Christian ashram in Tamil Nadu, and usually Pete Griffith was the head of it. And usually he would talk very, very generous. He would say Hindu Dharma, Buddhism, very good, no? But Christianity has the same thing, something like this. So once I came to the meditation hall when he gave a talk to Indian Kerala novices, not novices, who would become nuns. And I couldn't understand how he could say what he said. I don't remember what he said, but it was completely different. So I went straight to him after the talk to his hut and said, "Father Pete, how can you say this?" Then he said, "I have to strengthen their faith, otherwise they don't know where the border to Hinduism is." So it's sad, no? So they are very much, and this fear of hell is a big impediment for Christians and for Muslims to get out, because what if it is true? I got a mail from a 38-year-old American, and he wrote that I like very much your articles, they helped me a lot and so on. But then he said, "But you may find it strange, but sometimes I still think, what if the church is right?" It's not easy to get it out, no? We have to figure this in also, how we can actually help them. Sometimes I think when we say they should go to whatever, now in Germany we have big problem also, let them go to their countries where they belong to. But ultimately those countries also 1500 years ago, no? They were quite normal people. They did not believe that we belong to hell. And we should tell them it cannot be. I am not going to hell. So, I mean, you know what I mean. So, well, thank you very much.